Andy flopping middle set here on the Jack 7-4 board. Pocket sevens for Andy. George top pair. Now a gutter ball on the turn. Any six gives him a straight. Andy looks like he gets 10K in the middle there. Gets a quick fold, quick confused fold from George.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened. It said Andy won 3,000 in the hand. But I'm not quite sure exactly what happened. I don't see how George would call 10K with Jack small kicker.
Yeah, on that board, he's never getting called by a worse hand, I don't think, for that much. Not from George.
Nonetheless, George takes another one, another L. Now he's, Dave opens queen 10 suited. George going to call with the 5-3 suited. Zach's going to play another hand, ace jack of hearts this time.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, he gone.
Short-lived. Short-lived, I assume. George flops 3 threes. Bets 300. Unfortunately, no one has anything. That was the one George was wanting to get paid on.
That was his get me unstuck hand.
Well, you know, get a little back at least. You know,
for sure.
You gotta get it back in chunks, and he was hoping that would be one of his chunk hands.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Nobody had anything.
If you guys are just joining us, we're watching 5-10-25 No Limit Hold'em on a 15-minute delay out of Best Bet Jacksonville. Myself, Dustin Shacklock, Eddie Marskoski, commentating live from his couch.
That's right. This is great. I would have been sitting right here watching it, so may as well jump on the mic.
I love it. Looks like Zach's in another hand. That's two hands in the same orbit.
Wow, another suited Broadway for him. The three hands he's played had all been suited Broadways, all containing a jack. He does flop a pair here. He's going to lay it down to 125 bet from Nick, who has middle pair, backdoor flush draw, backdoor or straight draw.
That would have been a huge turn card for Zach.
Turn and river go check, check. George going to take it down with his queen. George takes down a couple pots after losing that big one. Although not nearly as big as pots as he would have liked. Being as how he gave Andy at least 3,000. Although it may have just been 1,400, I'm not sure.
After, we'll pull up the wins and losses here in just a second, and we'll see where everyone's at so far.
Good idea, Shacklock. That's why they pay you the big bucks.
That's right. Dave opening up the 2-10s under the gun. Gets a call from Toby in the hijack. Jack 8 suited. Frank gets a good price in the third blind, and 3 ways to the flop.
Ace highs. Frank's going to flop an A.
What a turn card for Toby.
8 on the turn. Toby's going to take the lead with the 8 now. Frank's going to fire 500. Music to Toby's ears. All right, Toby going to lay the trap with the flat call. Hoping for a brick river. It's a pretty good river.
Now the ball's in Toby's court.
Frank slows down correctly, much to Toby's chagrin. He's going to have to put a value bet out here and see if Frank can pay it off. Would have much rather seen Frank fire another 1,000 or so at it. He's going to bet 15. Frank's going to make the quick call and see the bad news. Good sizing on the river there for Toby. Makes it look like he had a missed flush draw. Frank with that ace, possibly checking the river, could have cost him more. Let's say if he bets 1,000 and gets raised, he can fold.
Absolutely.
Checking it to Toby, he gets him to lose 1,500. Good sizing for Toby.
I think Toby sized that one perfectly. I thought he was going to go a little smaller. I thought he was going to go about half pot, maybe around 850, 900. Nope, went for it.
Yeah, that's what that river with the queen makes all the other aces chop with the queen. So even if Toby say had ace 8 or ace 9 or ace 10 and did have Frank beat before, now he's just chopping. So Frank knows that and is more likely to pay off. I think that's one of the reasons Toby went with the bigger size. And just as we've seen, got paid off. So a spot where no matter what you're winning the hand, but you could just win 800 more on the river, Toby wins 1,500. And those sizing, that matters. That's huge, especially in the big pots.
That's why he's one of the best.
Absolutely.
Look at this hand.
Uh-oh. George.
Things not going so well for George today.
George leads right out. 400. Andy with the raise to 1,000. George going to peel for an 8. George hits an 8 here. He'll just say all in for 14,000. He's got a feeling he's beat, but if he hits an 8, he could get the whole stack. 4, not going to happen. He checks it, and now Andy bets 2,000. You've seen George pay off tonight. Can he find the hero fold?
Can George fold here?
Well, it's just not likely that Andy's going to be bluffing, especially at that size on the turn. It's not a bluff size. He went from 400 to 1,000. It's a value size. George not able to pay it off. George stuck George. Another bad call off.
You can see George looking like he's frustrated with himself there after paying that 2K on the river.
Yeah, he's frustrated with how he's running, but he's also frustrated that he can't find these folds. Not a lot of George's game is predicated upon folding. It's usually his aggression, but in certain instances, everyone's got to be able to make these tough folds. And George is capable. I mean, I've seen him make just as many good folds as he has, good calls and good bluffs. It's a little behind the 8 ball tonight, but the night is young. Seen George crawl out of these holes many times before.
And this is exactly how he does it. 3-betting 7-5 suited out of position against ace-queen.
Oh, yeah. See him here going for it.
Going for it.
This is how you get unstuck.
Wide
Play
open.
much bigger pots. Inflate all the pots. Try to win the big one. Uh-oh.
This is how you do it.
This could get juicy against Nick, too. Nick's not a folder. $500 C-bet called by Nick.
The ace of clubs would be a pretty sick card. George keeping his foot on the gas here with the club flush draw.
Yep, Nick's gonna just call again. George bricks out and gives up. And Nick checks it right back. Not even considering going for some value. Just doesn't want to get check raised off his hand. likes the pot right where it is, I guess.
He knows that George is going to have those big hands just as often as he's going to have those junky suited two-gappers. That was one spot where you could get massively cooler and George wakes up with ace-king or something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, George could have backdoored a straight, you know, and just check raise you all in for your stack. I understand Nick's trepidation. George is one that will pull those plays, but I will say against most players and most tables, especially the lower stakes you go, those type of plays aren't being pulled, and we need to be getting river value. But against a player like George, he's earned those checkbacks.
Totally agree. Totally warranted. It's okay to be a little nervous when playing a huge pot against George.
John opens ace-king. Zach playing another hand, offsuit variety this time. Ace-10 off. Nick in there with 9-7 off. Andy with 2 9s. Gonna fire this flop. 200. Nick with 9-7 open-ended here is going to raise it up. Interesting. Wow, it's going to get Andy to lay down the 2 9s.
Wow, gets one through.
Andy was in good shape there, but against the check raise from Nick, just can't handle the pressure.
Andy folds the overpair. Nick takes one down, bluffing the open ender on a paired board. I like it.
Yeah, Nick. Nick can have a lot of trips right there, and Andy knows if that's the case, he's drawn pretty thin. So takes the safe route, folds the overpair. Good timing for Nick. Dave opens the button here, Queen Jack offsuit. George going to defend the small blind, 9-7 suited. Nick's going to defend the big blind, Ace-5 suited. Nick flops the nuts.
Oh.
And Dave flops a jack with the queen high flush draw. Troublesome flop here for Dave. Let's see how he navigates his way through the hand. Nick leads 125. Small lead for Nick. Just a flat call here for Dave. I like it. 6 on the turn pairs the board.
Kind of a weird spot for Dave here. Especially now with the board
375.
pairs.
Yeah, he's handcuffed. He can't really fold. You know, he has top pair, and just if his top pair isn't good, he's got the queen of clubs as a backdoor plan. It's kind of how John O'Neill was handcuffed with those nut flush draws and top pair earlier. This is the same scenario. He's going to raise this. Bad timing here for Dave. Raises it up to 1,200. Nick makes the call. Oof. And now Dave hits a bigger 2 pair.
That just makes it worse.
Interesting. Nick checks it over. Dave with only 785 behind. No, he doesn't have 785. He has 2 orange chips. He bets 2,000. Wow. Yeah, no way Nick's going to fold the nut flush there. Interesting river decision there for Dave to bet the 2,000. Looks like Dave's going to be reloading as well. Chips are going in now. They're firing. Looks like Dave's going to buy 4,000 more. Andy's going to limp in with the Queen 10 of hearts. George on the straddle. Actually, Dave opens the cutoff, ace 10 offsuit to 200. George defends, and Andy comes along. 9 high flop, everyone whiffs. Check to George, he checks, 3 on the turn. George still with the best hand here, in great shape. Doesn't know it. Checks it back, and 8's going to miss everyone. That one goes checked all the way down. Small pot for George last hand. Nick is going to be straddling the button. $50 to go. Folded to Andy. He's going to limp the Jack 8 of spades. Frank's going to come in there with ace 3 offsuit. George says nope. Raise it up to 300. Jack 7 of hearts. Nick has to fold his straddle hand, the 9 deuce off. Andy's going to call, having George dominated. Flop comes 9-4 deuce, all diamonds. Nobody with a diamond, nobody with a pair, nobody with a draw. Flop goes check, check. Turn 6, Andy checks, George bets 1,000. Andy quickly folds. Just now tuning in, this is Jacksonville Best Bet live stream. This is a 5-10-25 no limit hold'em cash game. No max buy-in.
That's right.
Nick picking up 2 kings here. George going to open
raise
the
there?
10-8 of spades. Yeah, Nick's going to 3-bet. Yeah, when you 3-bet hands like King, Queen, and Ace 4 offsuit, you got to 3-bet the kings as well. That's why you're doing it. George is not going to be folding this type of hand when he's stuck this much.
Not when Nick has 12,000 behind.
Exactly. That's all he's concerned with. Oh, 9-5-6, 9 of spades. Doubtful George is going to be folding. Oh, it goes check, check.
George
Wow,
double
turn goes
gutted.
check, check too.
Double gutter ball on the turn, and he gets there. Any jack or
overbet.
7 on
Big,
the turn for George.
Yeah. Big overbet coming. What's he bet there? 3,000, yeah. Nick makes the call. George with the stone nuts straight to the 10. Just like that, picks up 3,500, 4,000 almost.
Nick stepped right in his own trap there.
Forgot about the other 6K. You count me down well. I'm sure you started 6K short. Spur of the moment. That's That's pretty close. I think it was stuff like that.
All right, so George gets one back. We've seen him lose a few big ones tonight. Takes a big one off Nick there. I think Nick still our big winner at the moment.
I hear right
Couple of few suited connectors out there. Dave 9-10 of hearts. George 7-8 of spades. Andy with nut hearts. Ace-5. Wendy ace deuce of clubs. Frank with a mystery hand. He's going to be in there.
Wow.
Oh, big flop here. 2 aces. Wendy and Andy both have an ace. Fortunately for Wendy, Andy has a small ace too. This could end up getting chopped. Flop goes checked around. Now 2 spades. George actually picks up a spade flush draw. Andy bets 175.
Wendy gets there on the river, looks like.
Deuce of spades on the river. Wendy bets 375. She could have bet so much more with that card. Wait, no, okay, there you go. She's bet 700.
Yeah, that's a 700.
That makes more sense. Makes aces full on the river. Andy's going to correctly lay down trip aces with a 5. George with the flush. Makes the call. George not in the folding mood.
Lots of junky ace hands get there on the river. Tough spot for George.
Yeah, just unlikely that Wendy would just be choosing that spot to bluff.
I think George says in that spot, well, she could just have 3 aces. I'll look her up with the flush.
So unlikely. Maybe, I don't even know if she can have smaller flushes if it was even possible. 5, 6 of spades. Nah, she's. I don't know what bluff she has there. That's just kind of a spewy payoff.
You think Wendy just checks 3 aces there all the way to the river? You don't think she tries to get a little value bet with 3 aces?
No, Andy bet the turn and she just flatted. So Andy's showing strength already. George calling is strength, and then she just flatted, and then the river came and she fired right out. That's a pretty confident bet, right? After somebody's already bet the turn and someone's called and there's 2 aces out there, it's likely that at least one of them guys have an ace. And now the flush hits as well, and you think somehow she's bluffing? Like she's just never ever choosing that card to bluff.
Well, when you put it like that, it does sound a little spewy.
Yeah. George involved in another one here. Zach with ace king is going to get his first decent little pot of the night.
That's Zach's 1 hand per orbit.
Yeah, he's doing well. I think he came in for 5K and he's up to about 6.
Yeah, I think he was right in the middle of the pack last time we checked the stats. Probably up a little bit now. There it is. Wendy coming in for a raise after a couple of limps. She's bumping it up to 125 with ace-10 offsuit on the button.
There we go. Wendy using her position, not wanting to just limp behind. Go ahead and raise it up.
Looks like all 4 players check the flop. Wendy's ace-10 still looks good. We can't see Andy's cards. George getting after that dead money again. And it works.
George going after. Yeah, picks the spot. It works.
There's no way I have the best hand.
Getting some of that money back that he just paid off to Wendy. Flush over full house.
Against, I mean, like, I didn't have that logo. It's 3 people. There's no way.
Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Thanks for hanging out with myself and Eddie. We're about 2.5 weeks out from the start of our Winter Open. Pretty excited. Winter Open series here at Best Bet Jacksonville, an in-house series. We just started doing it. I think this is the 3rd one we've done. Culminating in a $200,000 guarantee, $1,100 buy-in, $200K. What do you think
Yeah,
about
we
that?
always hit the guarantee. Always hit the guarantee. A lot of times, you know, go over it by a substantial margin. I never miss one of these things. I'll certainly be there firing away. Can't miss that value. Best Bet, for my money, is the best place to play in the country. That's why I live here.
It's right in your own backyard, right where you grew up.
Yeah, it was so perfect. I grew up in Jacksonville, literally like 2 miles from where they built Best Bet. It was very fortuitous for me when I was starting to get serious about poker that this building was put right here.
It was meant to be.
The lightning strike 4 times.
Yeah, like Eddie said, in these big events, we always smash the guarantee. We always exceed it by at least 20, 30%, sometimes way more than that. But that $1,100 $200K has a great structure. I dropped it there in the chat. You guys can take a look at it. I think it's big levels. Let me see if I can figure out the levels. Do you know, Eddie, off the top of your head, what the structure's like?
40-minute levels.
40-minute levels.
I think we go 12 or 13 on for day one.
Yeah, some serious value there.
Oh, it's a great tournament, great structure. Plenty. It's either 25K or 30K starting stack, so get a lot of play. You'll have a lot of players satellite in, so a lot of players that don't normally play 1K buy-in tournaments. Really, just if you're a tournament player, this is really good value. You can afford to come on, even if you can't afford to buy on in. Just like I said, there's plenty of satellites that Best Bet runs throughout the whole series, and even before the series, they may have already started running certain satellites. Come in here and win you a high hand into the satellite, win the satellite, and be in the 1100 for free.
That's
A lot
right.
of people do it.
Ultimate free roll. You can't get in that way. We're going to run a whole bunch of megas starting in 2 weeks. Actually, I think we start in a week. Start running the megas to get into some of those events. Play the mega satellite with guaranteed 10, 5, 20 seat guarantees into these big tournaments. We like to take care of our locals.
Those megas are sweet. Yeah. Absolutely. There's lots of locals in all the tournaments. You know, no matter the buy-in, all the way from the 50K guarantees all the way to the 500K guarantees here. They do a good job of putting tons of locals in. Big pot brewing here between Frank and Wendy. Frank had the best hand, and Rivers 2 pair still the best hand. Oh, Frank checks back the king queen. Not looking to get any value on the river.
Ouch.
Just happy to win the pot right there.
Yeah, what does he think she has there?
Yeah, just working there. Like, yeah, you got to be going for value here, especially with a player like Wendy. She's likely to call another bet. She has top pair. Somehow she had a worse 2 pair. You'd feel terrible. She had some queen 10 or
Right.
even king 10. Now it's king 10 that was already beating you, and now you just
7-8 suited or
out
something.
hit her. Huh? Got to be able to throw another bet out there. If she raises, you can make a decision, but you can't be so scared till you just check back those strong hands.
So I just pulled up the tournament calendar for January, and it looks like the first mega into that main event is going to be Friday the 10th at 6 p.m. That's going to be a 20-seat guarantee to get you into that $1,100 main. $260 is the buy-in. $260 mega satellite into the Winter Series main event. 20 seats.
There you go.
Guaranteed.
And I bet they're even giving away high hands into that satellite, so you can
Absolutely.
even come and play some cash and try to win your way in. 4 ways to the flop here. 8, 5, 3. Rainbow. Nick with a 3, and Wendy and Andy with gut shots.
Like turn card
6 on a
gives
turn
Nick
is
2
going to
pair.
get Nick 2 pair. Andy's going to have his gut shot and nut flush draw. Wendy's open-ended with her 4. A little something for everybody. Now Dave has the gut shot to the nuts. And if he made it, he could really get some money out of a 9, potentially a 4. We could see... No, Dave's going to lay it down. 3 ways to the river. Now, Nick gets counterfeited, but he doesn't actually. He thinks he does. But he's still going to fire.
Nick gets counterfeited, but pair of 6 is still good.
Still bets 1,000. Yeah. Still hard to be beat. Someone would have to have a better 6 in that spot. Not likely for anyone to have an 8 with it being checked around as it was.
What'd you do in the Tampa tournament? Full house over full house.
KRT in the chat asking about Sunday or Saturday satellites. Yeah, we don't have any of the megas on Saturdays. Those are usually Thursday, Friday type deals. So the first one's on Friday the 10th, and then the 16th and the 23rd. But we will be doing all kinds of satellites into the 360 100K, event 1. We'll be doing satellites basically every day.
It's like,
George is our button straddler here, and we got Frank's going to limp, and George raises to 300. Frank not going to play the 9-3 suited.
I have no idea what his name is or anything. I just know it's funny, like, always wears the grin hat. Yeah, like, we probably couldn't even pick him out of a crowd without the hat. No, without the hat, I would have. Oh, yeah. Who's that guy? It's really going to throw us off if someone else wears it. Or if he shaved and got rid of the hat, then no chance. Oh, he don't even got to shave. He just got to get rid of the hat. Yeah. If someone else started wearing it,
You guys can head over to the website, bestbetjacks.com, and follow the clicks and pull up that tournament calendar. Show you everything we got going on for the Winter Series. Like I said, it starts in about 2 weeks. 2.5 weeks, I guess.
Dave picking up 2 aces. Going to raise it up to 200.
About time. I don't think we've seen aces so far this game, have we?
I don't recall it either.
Yeah, I don't think we've
Doesn't
seen
look
anyone.
like anyone's picking up a hand here. Oh, Zach's going to play. Must have a little pocket pair. He called pretty quickly. Wendy's going to call with 9-10. We don't know Zach's hand. Let's see if my read was right. Called pretty quickly after looking at his hand. Didn't give him much thought. King, 10. 2 hearts. Dave's going to check his aces back. Right to the turn. 4 clubs. Zach checks. Wendy checks her 10. Now Dave's going to have to get a little value out of his hand. He bets 300. Zach folds. We'll never know what he had. Oh, Wendy gets there on the river.
Oh, bad beat.
She checks, and Dave correctly knuckles back the aces. Good river check by Dave. Bad luck. Wendy hits the 10 on the river. Steal that one.
Dave instantly with the click back.
Yeah, you know that's just a terrible card. Now there's just nothing to get paid from.
you got to give all the money back and then you get kicked out.
Also, for all you guys that don't want to wait 2 weeks to play a guaranteed tournament, our sister property in Orange Park, Florida, hosting a 30K next weekend. 1 week from today, it's the first 2 starting flights, one at noon, one at 7. That's a $30K guarantee, $200 buy-in at our sister property in Orange Park.
Yeah, there you go. OP 30K.
That's right.
Super. Speaking of soft field, super soft field. Always no
That's
shortage
because,
of action in that tournament.
It's full of all the Jacksonville dealers. That's why.
Absolutely. Yeah, we get all the best bet Regency dealers or Monument dealers come over and spew off their 200.
That's right. I can't wait to do it.
Occasionally, one of them will bag some chips. Always a fun tournament.
You guys can catch me in that one next weekend. I'll be over there. I don't know what flight I'm going to play. What about you, Eddie? What flight are you going to play?
I mean, if I'm not doing anything, I'll play every one.
Nice.
Starting Friday at noon. I haven't checked into what's going on, but if nothing else happening, I'll be there Friday at noon. Hoping to bag on one bullet.
I might see you there. I think I might play Friday too. I'll either play Friday or Saturday during the day. You guys come get a piece. All my chips are live. You guys can come get them anytime.
Free money,
That's right.
people.
It's dead money. Come get it. They always smash the guarantee in that thing too. That usually gets about 40, 50K in the prize pool every time.
Yeah, it usually gets around 10K up top. That's nice, 10, 11K. It's pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
I've seen it get 14, 15 multiple times.
We got some big hands out here.
Absolutely.
Toby opens the Queen Jack of Hearts after Nick limps Queens. Wendy's going to 3-bet Ace King offsuit to 800. Now Nick puts himself in a weird spot. He limps Queens. And then now he's facing a 3-bet to 800. He calls, and Toby quickly mucks the Queen Jack.
Yeah, that's always a weird spot.
Yeah, Queens is a tough hand to be limping. Wendy hits Jen on the turn. Nick hates to see that. Oh, Wendy grabs about 6 black chips, and then Nick says, "Come on, Wendy." Then she checks. Nick checks back, shows the queens. Wendy wins the ace king, but she definitely would have got 600-700 from him on that river.
For sure.
Nick saying, "Come on, Wendy." Got him a check. Got him to a free showdown.
Especially after she checks back the turn after making top. I think Nick's definitely going to pay her a little something with 2 queens on the river.
Oh, we know Nick is not folding that river.
For sure.
Anything pot or less, he's looking her up. But especially half pot, like what she was going for, or less.
Nick would have been like, "Come on." Please don't check. Yeah. Please don't. You think Nick would have gave you the "come on" if the river's a queen? How much?
John saying if that river was a queen, Nick wouldn't have said nothing.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
have to agree.
That's a good point.
Toby opens king 3 from the hijack to 200. Zach on the button's going to call with 10 jack off. Wendy, same hand, another 3-bet to 800. Folds to Zach. He's going to make the call.
That surprises me.
Zach's going to use his position.
There you go. That's your queen right there.
I think he can narrow down Wendy's hand to, like 5 or 6 hands. And anytime you know what your player or what your opponent's very specific range is, you can play pretty comfortably. So, a lot like she's 3-betting from the small blind after just 3-betting, so it's very unlikely to be a bluff, so it's got to be value hands. What are her value hands? Aces, kings, queens, ace, king, ace, queen, maybe 10s and jacks. Okay, so he calls knowing that, sees this queen 5-4 flop, and now knows if she has her hands like ace, king, or 10s without any spade, this is going to put a lot of pressure on her.
How are you at, huh?
And he does. He bets the jack high, no draw, and gets ace, king, no draw to fold.
No pair, no draw.
Yeah,
No pair, no
good
draw, no
timing there
spade.
Good timing from Zach. Pretty atrocious flop for Wendy. And she, I think her deciding to check that really lost her the hand. If she c-bets there, we know Zach can't do much to continue.
Yeah, she puts out a bet there. Zach folds 100% of the time.
When she gives up and just checks it over, you can reasonably assume a lot of the times her hand is ace-king without a spade. Because I think ace-king with a spade would have probably just c-bet. All right, limp to Dave, who has ace-queen of diamonds in the third blind. He's going to raise it up to 25. Frank had limped king-jack in the big blind. He's going to defend. We're going to go heads up. Eight high flop. Dave c-bets 300. And Frank calls. 7 on the turn. Good for Frank's range, and he fires right out as a bluff, and it's a good time bluff. Dave snap folds the ace high. Really good bluff there from Frank. He's the small blind. Those low cards, or he's the big blind. Those low cards should hit his range way more than they hit Dave's. And then when the turn comes, another low card connected to the other ones. He decides to go ahead and represent, getting a better hand to fold. Well played, Frank.
Yeah, look at Frank showing up with the bluff. A well-timed bluff there against Dave.
Yeah, I like it. That was quick, too. He didn't even hesitate. He saw the 7 on the turn and grabbed the 1,000 and threw it out there real quick.
Yeah, I like that.
Also could be something to note. Let's see how often he fires out instantly with a value hand. He may not ever do it. And so if we find that out, we can deduce that when he does it, he's bluffing and take advantage. See if he snap bets value the rest of the night. We're looking out for Frank.
Huh. Very good insight from the man, Eddie Marskoski. Giving you guys pointers.
Five ways to the flop here. Ace, queen, deuce, 2 diamonds.
5 players in and nobody with an ace.
No ace. Frank and Wendy with middle pair, the queen.
Yeah, it looks like Frank's king-queen in the lead, right?
Yep, Frank ahead with his king-queen. Andy's going to bet the drawing dead 6-3. Gets called in 2 spots. Oh, he's not going to slow down either. And this is a small bet, 300. Very unlikely you're going to get any of the pair type hands that called you on the turn to fold the river.
That's right.
I think if you're going to bet that, you need to go a large size. Betting 300 is just giving away money. We see Frank easily makes the call with king queen. So back-to-back hands for Frank.
Let's take a look at the wins
On
and
a
losses.
little heater. Let's see what's going on out here. Nick crushing up 6,700. George, opposite of crushing, down 12,500. Friday grind day indeed for George. He's going to be looking to get back that 12,000. Nick and Toby
Dave.
are big winners right now. Yeah, Dave down 5,300. He's really had the bad end of card distribution tonight.
Absolutely.
Just can't seem to get it going. And when he did try a big bluff, it was into the flop nuts of Nick.
Right.
Lost a big one there. Aces can't hold up. John's going to open up ace deuce of hearts. Andy flats with 2 6s. Toby with the other 6 and the ace of spades going to make the call from the straddle. Nine, 4, 4, no heart. John's going to go ahead and continuation bet, 300 here. Andy, pretty good flop for 2 6s. He's going to make the call.
There it is.
Ace on the turn for John. Easy game. Checks it right over. Andy checks back. Now John's going to go for some value here. Probably a good 700. 1,000. Snap call by Andy. Didn't even think about it. Oh, wait a second.
Snap raise.
Instant minimum raise to 2,000.
I don't know if it really makes
John's gonna
sense.
fold.
I don't think it really makes sense for him to have a 4 here, right?
It doesn't make sense for him to just flat call the turn if he did have a 4, and now just minimum raise the river. If you had a 4, you'd be wanting big value. The min raises here can be like ace jack, ace queen. But John, of course, having an ace blocking that, yeah, it's not going to really find a fold. It's a pretty bad bluff, really, and John just picks up an extra 2K.
They just can't wait to give it away.
No, he just admits a min raise. John's got to. John's got to be right like 1 out of 8 times for it to be profitable, and that's pretty good odds.
If anyone at the table knows that, it's John.
And he knew it too. He even knew it like as soon as John called it. He knew his hand was bad. Trying to level him, and it's kind of out-leveled himself, I think, there.
Yeah, I think when the ace and the flush draw come on the turn, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for Andy to have a 4 there, the way he played it.
Yeah, he wouldn't have just flatted a 4. He'd try to raise, get some money in there against the hands with ace or the flush draws.
Sure.
Going
If
the
he'd
river.
played it that way, he might have won the hand on the turn. John might have folded ace small.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or even if John peels, he's going to fold the river now if you fire another shell.
Right.
But flatting the turn, min raising the river is really one of the worst lines you could choose.
Yeah, that was a weird one. We
I
got
mean,
everybody
if
in.
If it's 3,000, maybe John folds the river, but 2,000, he pretty much is forced to call.
Right. No hand he can fold.
George raises 500 with the ace-7 offsuit. Nick picking up 2 queens. It's going to make it 1,700. And George is going to make the discipline fold. Well, that's gonna get John up into the winner's range there, picking up a nice 3K.
Easy 3K.
Yeah, that did seem pretty easy. Andy's going to limp the ace jack. Frank's going to open his king queen of spades up to 400. George is going to flat the button with 9-8 offsuit, looking to play a big one with Frank. Okay, Zachary, our straddler, he's going to put a 3-bet into 1,400. Ace queen off, I like it. I would have went up probably a little larger. I think if you get Frank to fold, you get George to fold. But if Frank is coming along, George is coming along.
Absolutely.
Frank does come along. Now George can close the action. In position, 8-9, could really win a big hand. We know he's down 12,000. This is going to be an easy call for him. He makes the call.
These are George's bread and butter spots right here.
Yeah, George is going to try to find a way to win this. He's going to navigate, try to find a way to win this one. Ace 10-10, tough flop to try to win. Really good flop for Zach, the pre-flop 3-better. This one gets checked around.
There it is. Look at Frank
Jack on the
there.
turn.
Frank gets there.
Frank just binks Broadway. Bad timing. Zachary leads out this time 1,600. Kiss it goodbye. Frank's going to raise 4,000. Zach hates to see that. Oh. He puts them all in. Looks like they're going to run it twice here.
Did Frank
Frank's
say
gonna show
no?
him the Broadway. Oh, once. Said once.
I think Frank told him no. No thanks. I prefer to only run it
Yeah,
once.
One time. Broadway is going to get there the one time.
No, I have Broadway. I don't want to run it twice. I only want to run it once.
So, big pot there we see between Zach and Frank. Yeah, really that turn bet sizing kind of handcuffs Zach in there. He bet 1,600 and he only had about 4K behind with a hand that pretty strong. Although when you're raised right there by Frank, your hand's never good. Just never.
Yeah, I think he thought he was going to get a shot at running it twice. In that case, he would be a lot more live than he thought. He had any ace, any 10, or what? Any king for a chop?
Yeah, had some chop outs, had some boat, full win outs, but
I don't think he expected to get shot down for running it twice like that. I think he thought he was a lot more live than he was.
Yeah, but I tell you what, had I asked you beforehand, anyone, which one of these players at the table is the most likely to turn down and run it twice scenario, everyone would say Frank. So, like, those need to play into your decision making as well. If you're versus the guy who's unlikely to do that, don't make it a part of your decision making.
I agree.
And the opposite, like if you're versus a guy who you know is going to run it twice, obviously that plays a role in your decision making. That's why we see a lot of these guys getting it in, knowing they're going to run it twice. Whereas if this was a game where you could only run it once, they'd probably scale a little tighter.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Frank said, no thanks. I'm good. I'm good on running it twice.
Yeah. He said, no thanks. Give me my pot.
That's right. George bumping it up here. 7-8 off, making it 250 to go.
250 with the 7-8 off. Frank don't want to play the 10-3 off. Raise and take.
This has been the least amount of chat conversation we've ever had on one of these live streams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody in the chat. Where are you at, people?
You guys asleep already? I thought that you were going to say this is the least amount of hands you've ever seen Wendy play on a stream, because that's what I was thinking.
That's probably the case as well.
That's what I was thinking when you started that sentence.
She is playing unlike what we've seen how we've seen Wendy play in the past.
Yeah, very un-Wendy. Eddie getting there out of the big blind. Flopping top pair. Not going to get any action, but still picks up a quick $100.
Yep, flop tops pair, leads right out. Everyone folds. Seeing if anyone is on the list. I guess there was no one on the list.
We had one guy on the list that was a call-in, but I don't think he's here. I don't know if he ever showed up. This time, Toby with the 2 kings and the hijack, making it 200 to go. No action. Gets through everyone.
Yeah, a couple of raise and takes pre here.
To be expected. Every pot can't be thousands of dollars. KRT on Twitch says crazy action for sure. Nick versus George hand was odd. Stunned Nick just let him get there with the king. Yeah, you know, well, we've seen Nick play real cautious against George when he had the top pair on the river. He just checked back when it was, you know, when there's a really good chance that he has the best hand, but he didn't want to try to go for more value because he was afraid of getting check raised. So George kind of makes players play him a little differently. And we saw it there when Nick had the kings. He checked back the turn for whatever reason, just to, you know, as to not get check raised, because George puts fear in people. And then George gets there and bets, you know, more than pot on the river. And Nick, because he's under-repped his hand the whole way, is kind of forced to make the call. Whereas had he just played it normally, you know, you can find, that river, if you played it normally and, you know, and George made the calls on that river, you could easily fold because a lot of George's range gets there. But when you play it, when you under-rep your hand as much as you did, you've kind of given George the leash to put the bluff in if he doesn't have it. So you kind of have to call because you've under-repped your hand. And then when he does have it, you just pay it off. George garners that respect because he's liable to put the aggressive, you know, check raise in at any time.
I mean, to Derek's defense, it went all in, snap call.
One of the best. George definitely a next level thinker. He knows what you're going to do before you do it most of the time in a game.
Oh, yeah, I think George is the best in the room at understanding what he's done in front of other players. So what I mean by that is how, like, you know, what if he's shown big bluffs or shown that he has the nuts, whatever he's done that he thinks the other player has observed him do, and he plays off that, and he has like a file cabinet in his brain of all the players and on how they think he's going to react, and he knows how to react the opposite way to whatever way makes him get paid, you know, or whatever way is advantageous to him. I think he's the best at that, the best individually, and the best at manipulating just random players with his actions. And we see it time and time again. Tonight he's down a bunch, but usually he's always at the top of the leaderboard.
Saw that 8 in the window.
Yeah, I would agree with that. George has been crushing for as long as I've known him.
Or is relentless stuff.
This one's going to get checked all the way down. Ace King high for Dave.
Actually less, because he's not here. I saved you some money, Dave. I saved you some money, buddy.
Looks like we must not have a name on the list. I think the guy that was a call-in, I don't think he's here.
Seat open. Anyone out there that hustle on down to Monument Best Bet Jacksonville?
Come get in this game. This game will go all night.
Yeah, step right in. You get mic'd up. We can talk about your play. Really criticize everything you do. It'll be a blast.
Yeah. Come jump in the game. This thing will probably go all night. This will go way later than the stream. These guys will probably play pretty late. They usually do.
George is stuck over 10,000. This game is going to go deep into Saturday.
It's Friday grind day. He'll play, I think he usually puts in like 20-hour sessions on Fridays.
Especially if he's stuck.
Especially if he's wearing that hoodie.
That's the Friday hoodie.
This time, Andy flopping the big 2-pair here. John's going to turn 2 9s into a bluff. Not going to work. He does get Andy to check back river.
Check again. These guys are checking really
strong value hands.
Checking monsters.
Yeah, just worried. I don't know. I don't really know what they're worried about. If John had a value hand, he'd bet it. We've seen him. He bet 1,000 earlier with his ace deuce on the river. He didn't check and hope you bet. When he has it, when he has the value, he bets so you can call. Might
Couple
be
of
time to
pocket
run to
pairs
the
out
bank and
there.
sit on down next to John.
Poke the bear, man. What? Kicker over me. 850.
John gonna open up 2 6s to 250.
Come on, baby. Give me something.
Wendy gonna quick 3-bet 2 A's to 850. Frank's gone. Dave's gone. Nick's not gonna call 850 with 2 4s. John is certainly gonna be calling 600 more. He's gonna try to flop a 6 and bust Wendy.
These guys have played a lot of pots together. They know what's up.
King 5-3. Good flop for Wendy, as John has a lot of pocket pairs that can continue here. All his jacks, 10s, 9, 8, 7s. 6s a little out of the range. Wendy bets a little too much.
He might have pocket kings right there.
I think she bet a little too fast. She couldn't get her chips in there fast enough.
2 sets again, right?
Yeah, she bet quickly and
She bet with
a little
authority.
much. John went set mining, didn't hit. Check folds correctly.
Hold on, guys.
What did she bet on the flop there? 1,000?
I think it was 1,200.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
I mean, there's 1,700 in the pot, so it's not, it's not a huge amount, but relative to what she has left, it basically says she can't go anywhere. Whereas had she bet, let's say 600-700, gives the illusion that she still could fold her hand because she still has like 4,000 left. But when she bets 12, she has like 35, 33 left. It's very unlikely for her that she's ever going to be folding.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think if she bets a little less there, I think John might call, and then it sets her up for a really nice turn jam. She can get all the money in on the turn. She can pick up one more street of value and probably get all the money in on the turn.
Yeah, there's definitely a good portion of John's range that is going to continue for a down bet, and that is going to be forced to fold to turn jams. And in scenarios where John has hands like King Queen and flops top pair, Ace King even, you get to build the pot a little bit and then set yourself up for a turn jam that isn't an overbet turn. It's a pot size turn. So you get to trap a lot of them top pair hands in there to call.
Yep, I agree.
NRG Poker says, did the kid busto or just leave? Nope, he went busto. Found himself in a 3-bet pot with Ace Queen. He 3-bet big, got called in 2 spots. Flopped 2 aces, but was outturned by Frank.
No, flop was ace 10-10.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Ace 10-10, jack on the turn. He gets it all in with Frank, who had Broadway. They run it once. Frank wins. Goodbye, Zach.
Goodbye, Zach.
It was that flag right there.
NRG says, Eddie, do you ever play cash games this big? No, I've never played this big. Biggest I've played is 5-10, and not a ton of that, really. A lot of 2-5, and of course a lot of tournaments. I study a lot of cash. I got several friends that exclusively play cash for a living that I talk hands with all the time. I always tell myself each year I'm going to play more cash, but I never seem to do.
Cash is the long grind.
Well, I used to play just cash back in the day before the best bet was here. I just played home games every night of the week, and they were all cash. But then I got the tournament bug, I guess, years back, and it hasn't left.
Tournaments are obviously a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun to win 50K in a day than win 50K in a year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely tournaments are more fun, and they get your heart rate pumping much more than any cash game will. But they're so volatile. You know, their cash game is pretty. I wouldn't say stress-free because all poker professionally is stressful, but less stressful than depending on tournaments. Because if you get on the bad side of variance in tournaments, you can go a long time without a score, and that hurts.
I was wondering if George was setting up the 3-bet trap here, limping under the gun with the ace-5 suited, and that's exactly what he was doing. Pretty standard George stuff.
Check that out. So we've never, ever seen George limp. He's only opened raise, and then the one time we do see him limp, it's a raise, and then he uses that opportunity to go ahead and get the limp raise in. So it's something that could have been observed, you know, by someone at the table. It's not something that George does. He may have something up his sleeve. Ace on the turn. George going to get rewarded for his aggression.
If I see George limping under the gun, that's automatically going to set off alarm bells in my head.
Right, yeah, that's just an uncharacteristic play. Anytime something's out of line like that, should give you cause for caution. And honestly, in a situation like that, in a situation where you think he's probably going to be limp raising, instead of just folding, being like, haha, I folded and I know he's got a good hand, you can call with a hand like pocket twos. And then when you spike a 2 and then you see the guy leading out who just limped, you can assume that he has a big hand. And then you can, your sizing, you can up your sizing because you can be pretty sure he's not going to be folding.
Right, that's what we talked about earlier. That's that pre-flop pot control.
Yeah, you can take advantage of the limp not getting able to be raised. John's going to flop top set here. Andy had a straight draw, but he goes ahead and folds.
Big flop for John with 2 jacks. Hard to get any action, though, on a big discoordinated board like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see Andy fold. He had a gut shot, and we've seen him call with those similar type holdings, especially for just 150. But not looking to mess around with John. He folds it, avoids running into top set. Although if he did hit his gut shot, we would have seen fireworks.
That's right.
Four-way limped pot here. 9-3 deuce. 2 pair for Toby, who just checked his blind.
Checked his option, yeah. Windy in there with middle bottom pair, 3-4 offsuit. She can only win with a 3. Ooh. Toby kind of gets counterfeited. His 9's still good, but any better 9 would take the pot.
He doesn't love that river, but he's still going to have the best hand. River goes check, check. Toby gets it to small pot.
Toby takes that one down, flopping the 2 pair. Gets called by Windy and gets weird. Looks like a weird counterfeit, but his 9's still good. Toby takes that one down. And we're on to the next hand. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for sticking around, hanging out with us. We got about another hour and a half of streaming left. We'll be here. And then this game will probably run through the rest of the night. We're open 24 hours here tonight. 24 hours here at Best Bet Jacksonville, so this game might still be running when I come to work tomorrow. Who knows? Looks like George flopping top pair there with the 7 tray suited. Bet and take it down. Everyone else gets out of the way. George takes down a small one. Gets a little bit closer to getting unstuck. If anybody can come back from a 12K deficit, it's definitely George. I've seen him do it many times. George with the button straddle this hand. Looks like George taking down another one. This one he took down pre-flop. George straddle again. Like we talked about earlier, we let him straddle from any position here in these big time-raked cash games. So this time George straddling from the cutoff. Frank's getting in there with the 5-6 offsuit. And action back around to George. Makes it 400 to go in his straddle. Everyone folds. George takes down 3 in a row. Looks like button moves and no straddle out of Toby this hand.
No button straddle and no under the gun straddle.
Yeah. I think if Wendy wasn't in the third blind, she'd straddle, for sure.
Although this is a new Wendy. She's been
Oh, that's true.
less aggro Wendy. Less active, I'd say. Toby's going to limp the button here with 6 deuce suited. Wendy raises her big blind, Queen Jack. And Toby going to let it go. He knew it was a mistake to begin with. Not going to compound it with another mistake. Limping the button with 6 deuce suited is a very losing proposition.
That was a very weird play from Toby. That's pretty kind of unusual for him. That was a weird play.
That's one of those, I'm bored, I want to play a hand, but this is not a hand I want to raise with. Maybe I can get in here cheap.
He should have just raised it.
Yeah, I mean,
If he was going to play it.
Take the initiative. At least you can see bet bluff win some flops. It's hard to connect and win.
Right. Yeah, use your position.
George grabbing some raising chips.
George with a real hand.
Off.
Yeah, he got a real hand this time. John O coming in, Queen 10 suited on the button. Andy's got 7-5 off, lets it go. Frank coming along, 4-5 suited in the third blind.
Everyone whiffs. George ace high, still best. Checking it over to John. 6 of diamonds on the turn.
Straight draw, flush draw for John.
Frank turns an open ender. That's 300. John has gut shot and flush draw. Calls the 300. River unknown right now. Oh, jack of diamonds. So Frank's has nearly the nut low. Checks it over. John bets. Frank's going to let this one go.
John takes that one down. Gets there with the big combo draw. Makes it look easy.
Let's take a look at the winners and losers.
Let's do it.
See where everyone stands here. 3 hours into the game. Frank up 8,400. Nick up 8,000. John up nearly 5K. Toby up nearly 4K. George and Dave throwing a party. George down 13. Dave down right about 6. How about that? Frank coming in.
That was after he got gifted that huge pot from Zach there in the 2-seat.
Yeah, most of his winnings coming from Zach. Zach played pretty snug, pretty tight, pretty solid, and then pretty spewy. One hand. That's all it takes sometimes.
Look at this hand.
Toby checked his 9 on the flop, which let Dave bet his 6s on the turn, which he assumed they were good. Really great card for Toby. Dave's going to think he has the best hand.
Dave open-ended there on the turn.
Yeah, Toby with 3 9s here is probably going to get value bet looked up. What's he going to go for? It's going small, 450, 550, about half pot. 650, a little more, not small. See if Dave can find the good laydown. He's been running pretty bad all night long. This does look like an obvious card to bluff, though. If Toby had 2 hearts, ace X of hearts, good fold by Dave. Discipline laydown, not paying off the trips of Toby.
Yeah, good fold by Dave.
Yeah, Dave stuck 6K in the game. You know he wants to get money back. If somehow he could hero call 650 on the river, that would help him start some momentum to get back even. But he knows that too likely his hand's no good. Doesn't want to add on to the hole he's already dug himself in. Makes a good disciplined fold. That's a tough fold. Tough fold when someone's stuck in the game. Can't be bothered with these 650 river decisions.
No. Playing 25 a point here.
With 3 guys at the table.
Right. Right. Welcome to my life. George coming in with the 3-bet here, 9-7 offsuit.
Toby opening the Jack 9 suited.
All of a sudden, ace 10 off's not looking so good.
Yeah, I don't blame her. So Toby's got George dominated here with a better 9. King 3-3. Everyone bricks. George with the initiative. He's going to check it over. Toby checks back. Ace on the turn.
Hundreds of hours of poker played between these two. They know each other very well.
Absolutely. Both these guys. Oh, they're going to end up chopping this one. Toby's going to be pretty upset. He had it pretty locked.
Both of them going, what are you doing in the hand? How do you have those cards?
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, nice, I can beat the 6s.
Toby, George, and John, always the first ones to get in the biggest games in the room. They've played hundreds of hours together over the years.
Yeah, I think when these 3 guys, when any of them are in town and this game's running, they're going to be sitting there.
Toby somehow probably has the least amount of hours in the game out of those 3.
Yeah, Toby a little younger. John and George. George a little older than both, but John been doing it a little longer than Toby. But I tell you what, Toby puts in a lot of hours. Like I said, he travels the world, and everywhere he goes, he looks for tournaments and looks for cash games to play. Plays a lot of PLO. I think that's probably his main cash game these days. But always willing to play some high stakes hold'em on the live stream here.
I saw him in Vegas playing 25-50 at the Bellagio over the summer.
Oh yeah, he's going to try to get into the biggest games. He has worked his way up. It's been pretty fun to see. Excited to see just how far he goes. Like we said, he had a real shot to take down the Bellagio 10K buy-in just a couple weeks ago. Came in 30th out of 1,000 people or so.
Paid out right
really
around
showing,
50K.
really showing he can play. Yeah.
55K.
Yeah,
I think,
cashes for 50K. He's already had several scores larger than that.
Got over $500,000 in tournament earnings.
He said, I'd rather be in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, you see him constantly at final tables.
Like, I got the chip league. What do I do? He literally told me, he said, I'd rather bag in the middle of the pack. You what? He said, I'd rather bag in the middle of the pack.
Ace Jack 7, all clubs, no club out there. Dave's got the best hand with his ace.
He knows what it is. Make cash, Nick, baby. After busting out the Tampa, you wish you would have got the main cash, you know?
John needling Nick on busting the Tampa main before the cash.
Nick, don't worry,
I think he ran up some chips and busted late day one.
I closed out that little one.
Yeah, I got a little guitar.
Yeah, I did get a guitar.
He got a guitar. He won the wrong one.
And it was down too. It was like 4 Tampa.
What's Nick doing there with the 7-5 suited? Just with the limp? Toby limping behind? Oh, straddle pot.
Yeah, this is straddle from the button, so Nick's not one to fold at a suited connector, and he's gonna call 45 more. Toby's gonna do the same, and George, who straddled it's gonna knuckle Queen 6.
Pretty good flop for Toby.
All right, Nick leads right out with his gut shot and backdoor hearts. I'd like to see Toby raise right here. Really charge whatever Nick could possibly be leading with. Instead, he's going to flat. Ace, terrible card for Toby. Turn goes check, check. Nick ends up with 7 high on the river. Can he find a bet? Nope, goes check, check.
Toby with a big flop. Ends up kind of getting run down. Ends up with aces and 9s with a 10. Still good enough to win $425.
Yeah, pretty bad run out for Toby there. I would have liked to seen a flop raise. He can feel pretty good that or pretty strongly he has the best hand.
Sure.
And Nick would have limped a lot of aces right there, so why not go ahead and put some more money in with the best hand, especially versus Nick, who you know is really likely to call. And you have position on him, and you get to knock out George, who has position on both of you. But he decides to call. George opens the button 200 here. Nick's going to call from the small blind, and John's going to call from the third blind.
Pretty sure I saw Frank with 2 deuces here.
Yeah, Frank limped in early, and he makes the call as well.
There they are. All right, now we got some cards.
2 ducks for Frank. Ace 3 for George. Oh, Nick with the 2 queens. Flats the small blind. 10-8-6. Looks like maybe Nick led 700 and everyone folded.
2 queens, good. Good for 1,300. Nick, I don't know. I haven't watched Nick play enough. I don't know if he's always this trappy, but it seems like that's kind of like the name of his game tonight. Is just get real trappy with it.
Well, I think what he's going for is he's real laggy, or he likes to see flops. He likes to limp. He tries to come in limp behind, trashy hands. So if you're going to play that style, you have to protect it by doing the same thing with your big hands. I think he's just mixing in some strong strong hands played weak pre-flop to protect his weak pre-flop range.
Yeah, that
And
makes
also,
sense.
in certain situations, you can really under rep and spike something big, and no one ever puts you on it. There's some merit to it. I probably wouldn't do that in this lineup, but I understand the strategy.
I think he thinks he's getting really creative with his hands.
Yeah, to me, there's too much limp. There's too much calling. So you're just inviting to play multi-way pots, and if you don't flop a set, or you don't flop huge with whatever your hand is, it's hard to play no matter what, even if it is an overpair. When you're 5 and 6 ways, overpairs are super susceptible. Each street they get more and more susceptible. So it's hard to find showdown wins in multi-way pots with one pair.
I think,
there's not a lot of like raising behind, so it's not like you're going to see a lot of 3 and 4 betting, and then you set the trap, and now you can put all your chips in. It's just mostly pretty passive, and everyone wants to see a flop.
I think the big flaw with that, I think you nailed it when you said against this lineup and inviting multi-way flops. Like, you don't want to go multi-way with a bunch of really, really, really strong players. You should just be raising his value hands and then try to get creative on the flop when he narrows down the field.
Yeah, you need to define their hands. Like, there's no defining their hand when they can have all of it limping. Like if he pops it up right there and someone calls, now they have a hand that they would have called 5 big blinds with, not limped in with 1.
Sure. And you let him get there.
Dave getting caught in it again. Dave bets 1,200 on the turn after being checked to, and Toby jams his 2 pair. I like that. I like this, putting it all in if he has some kind of weird monster draw. 10-8 of hearts or something like that. Make him put it in. If he has Queen Jack, maybe he puts it. He goes broke. Looks like we got a new player in the lineup. New blood, as they say.
They all wanted to give you a seat up. I'm like, no, man, I didn't. Nah, you gotta save it for him. Two pairs.
Picked up a new player in the 2 seat. Guns 333 in the chat. I'm not sure which hand you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what Dave just did bet. I don't know if it was 48%. I can't see exactly what his stack was, but he bet 1,200.
Oh, he's talking about Dave with the flush draw hand.
Yeah, Dave must have more than that in his stack. Yeah, he's got a bunch of oranges up there. Yeah, he's got like 5 oranges. He's got like 6, 7. He's got about 7K, so that definitely wasn't 48% of his stack. You'd certainly call him. He wouldn't bet 48% of his stack, really, in that spot. But bets the 1,200 and has to fold for the 6 or 7K more.
I wasn't bluffing, but two pair was buy the button or wait your turn?
Well, I'm glad Guns 333 is chiming in, and we know the chat's working.
Yeah, I thought it was down.
Facebook is silent. No Facebook listeners out there.
I keep refreshing it, thinking it's broken, but it's not.
Where's my Facebook peeps at? What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on at Facebook land?
Last comment was 2 hours ago.
And it was me.
I wasn't going to say that, but yeah. Robert Ritchie chimed in 2 hours ago. 4 ways to the flop here.
Got a pod going on now.
Toby flops a 10. king on the turn. Looks like Frank is just going to stone cold bluff at this one with his ace high gut shot. 500 into 400. It's going to get everyone to fold. Toby had 10 jack, which is a pair and straight draw. Not worth 500 to continue. That's how you take that down. Looks like the 2 just came in with, let's see, bought in for 2K. Oh, there we go. There we go. There's some Facebook peeps.
There it is. Fixed
Mark Marcellus. Oh, okay. So we had an issue.
Yeah, there we go. We're back online now. We're back in the real world. Ryan Jacobson.
And we're back. Oh, Ryan. Okay.
My old friend Ricky Hadaway in the chat. What's up, Ricky? Cool.
George Seaman, Peter, thanks for joining. Looks like Wendy's going to open ace 9 of spades from the button, 200. Andy snap calls king 6 clubs from the small blind. George in there with ace jack. And our new player just buying in for 2,000. Quickly flops top 2 pair and bets out 800. George has the nut flush draw. He's going to put them all in for his 2,000.
Once. Beat king high. Kill king high. He's king high. He's probably ahead then. He's ahead. And it's once or twice. Just once.
9 or a diamond for George, and he's going to whiff and end up with ace high. Top 2 pair for Allen. He's going to come in and double up in his first couple hands. More than double up. Bought in for 2,000, wins a pot of about 4,700. Just that easy, guys.
Literally, I get cooler again. Hey, check it out. I'm good or button?
Brunel Patel. Decent game. Love best bet. Yep, great game tonight. Always good action here. Jacksonville best bet. This was 5-10-25. No limit hold'em. Thank you for joining. I'm Eddie Marskoski. Joined also by Dustin Shacklock, our technical producer. We have an under the gun straddle the 50 here. Nick being the straddler. Maybe he didn't straddle. He just limps in. Andy on the button. Ace, queen of clubs. It's going to raise it up to 225. George is going to 3-bet to 1,000 with the jack deuce of spades. All right. Should see an interesting hand here. George wants to play these big pots with the guys with big stacks that can make big mistakes. And Andy's going to make the call. Heads up.
Baby.
You are stuck, right? Like,
I'm pop again.
8-4-3, 2 clubs.
Nick, try again.
George bets 1,000. Andy calls. Flush right on the turn for Andy. Nut flush. George checks. Now Andy bets 3,000.
what do you have, Andy? Your jacks ain't good? Yes, go, buddy.
George turns a pair.
Talking to jacks good, buddy? I wish you would say.
George asking Andy if jacks are good.
Jacks ain't good? Come on.
George really just hoping Andy has something like ace king or ace queen with a club. George puts them all in. Wow. George puts them all in. Andy snap calls. Huge pot, way the biggest pot of the night.
Wow, and he's got a ton of
George-
chips too, doesn't he?
Yeah, Andy had about 13, 14,000 start of the hand. 13,000 maybe. I think George is just hoping Andy has ace king or ace queen with one club. Really not much else Andy would be betting 3,000 on the turn with.
Instead, he's basically got the stones, huh?
Yeah, that's bad timing for George. Really wanted to play a big pot with Andy, thinking that's the guy that could get him even. Andy ends up making the nuts, getting George even worse.
And he ends up being at the
Everyone-
very top of his range in that spot. Ouch.
Yeah, big ouch there. Big ouch. You can see it on everyone. Everyone kind of like, no one really knows how to react when you see a guy dust off 13K like that.
Yeah, it's sick. I told you guys this is going to
But
be a
it
big
happens.
game.
Yeah. George wins these big pots more than he loses. He's used to it. He's lost plenty of these big pots in his career. He's going to reach into his little fanny pack and pull out some more chips. Still with
Yeah.
a smile on his face.
That's the best part about George.
Friday,
You know he'll
Friday.
put 13K in on a stone cold bluff.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if George climbs out of this hole. Maybe not on the stream, but I've seen him get in these massive, massive holes and dig himself out and be big winner even through a long 15, 20-hour sesh.
Yeah, absolutely. Seen him do it more times than I can count.
But he's definitely given himself a big job this time. This is a big hole to climb out of. He's going to need Andy to stay in the game.
That's right. Andy has all the
now,
chips.
Andy now with over 20K in front of him. Marunel Patel on Facebook says George will be back. I like the confidence. Is he down 20K? Gun says. Gotta be. It's gotta
Pretty
be
close,
more than 20K
yeah.
now.
Yeah, we'll take a look after this hand. It's got to be real close. I mean, he was stuck 12 before, right? 13?
Yeah, he was stuck 12 or 13, and then Andy had about 12 or 13 in that hand. So
I don't care how big your bankroll is. It can't be fun to lose 13K in a pot.
no, it's not fun when you're the guy throwing the party for the table, no matter what.
That's right.
5-way flop here. Ace, ace, 10. Nick with the 10. Leads 75. Wendy calls with 2 threes, hoping to spike one. There's only one left in the deck, being as how Nick has 10-3.
Wendy could probably bet here. She probably could have bet that river.
Absolutely could and should. Hard for Nick to have any hands with a queen because he bet the flop. He doesn't have ace queen because he would have raised pre.
Yeah. Wendy could absolutely have a hand like queen 10 or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She could have a lot of queens and get the fold. Get a lot of his big pairs to fold. She decides to check it down. She's texting right now. Can't be bothered. Probably texting Dan.
That's right. Oh, you know what? We're going to pull up the stats. I'll pull those up for you guys real quick after that monster hand between George and Andy. Ugh. There it is. Andy, the big winner now, taking the lead from Frank, only by about 1,500.
Wow. Andy, Frank, and Nick crushing. Toby and John right behind. And George throwing a party. Down nearly 30K.
This is,
and here we go. We're going to see George making it 400 from the button straddle with 9-5 off.
Yeah, George isn't the kind to take a 30K loss lying down. He's going to get in there and get active and try to get every dollar back.
Dan in the Twitch chat says sure was. She was texting Dan.
It's pretty good.
Getting a text from a buddy of mine on Facebook says the chat is definitely broken.
I think I fixed it. I think we had to I had to change something, but I think I fixed it. I'll take a look at it.
Andy gonna order him some soup after that 25K pot he just took down.
George just bought some $25,000 soup.
Yeah, it's some. I bet that soup tastes good for Andy.
It's some pretty expensive soup. I think I fixed it.
Looks like George made it 500 here. A few limpers for 50. George makes it 500 with King 4 offsuit. This is the stuff we can see when George gets stuck in these games. He likes to gamble it up and play these big pots.
This is what we've been waiting for.
Yeah, it either gets him more stuck or gets him unstuck. Well, Maruna's, she's definitely able to respond in the chat. Marunal, he, she, whatever that is.
Yeah, we got it. It's
Mark's in there.
Yeah, it's going. Running into a couple speed bumps here on the stream tonight, but we got them worked out. Thank you guys for sticking it out with us.
Well, it wouldn't be a stream if there weren't a couple of bumps.
That's right.
But you handled them well. You handled them well. The breaks were minimal.
And you never had to leave your couch.
Oh, it's been fantastic for me. I love this job.
That's amazing. Heads up to the flop between Wendy and George. George in the lead, ace, queen, offsuit. Ooh, Wendy picks up the big heart draw there on the turn. Doesn't
Brick on the
get
river.
there. Yeah, bricks the river. George gets the check mark and takes down the pot. Guns at the chat says 30K. Wow, yeah, 30K. Just another day at the office for George.
Just another Friday grind day.
That's right. I think we had one stream where he got stuck like 30K and then ended up getting all of it back, plus like another 15, like 45K.
Yeah, he's done that so many times. He's done that at 2.5. He's been down 10, 15K at 2.5 and gets it back in the same session.
Yeah, I saw him stuck 5K and 2.5, and I saw him come back to be like an 8K winner. That's a 10 buy-in downswing in one session. Gets it all back.
I'd be punishing myself. With this hand?
That's how his style is very volatile. When it goes bad, it goes bad. But when he's on it and it goes good, he's nearly unstoppable. Toby going to bet his top pair here. Frank going to peel one with middle pair. Toby going to get, we're going to bet 275 on the turn. Get a little more value out of his 10. Jack on the river, probably going to go check now. Yeah. Mark on Facebook says, does he raise like that to get big action later? Does it work at this stake level? Well, I mean, what he does really isn't done by anyone else. So it's hard to say if it works as a strategy, but the way he implements it, you know, George is a winner. He's a winning poker player. He probably wins more than any other player in the room and has been for years now. So it definitely works for him, but he plays in a very exploitive style, and he knows that, and he's willing to take the risk that it takes to do that. But definitely not advisable to be 10xing over two limpers.
James call in the chat. Yeah, I can pull that up for you, man. No problem. That's a very small sample size for new guy Allen. He's only been in the game, what, 15 minutes maybe? So.
Yeah. So Allen's played like 4 of 7 hands at 60%. George has played 60%, and he's been played all night.
Yeah. So that sounds a little more accurate.
That George runs at about 50% VPIP. Like, he's insanely active.
Which is a lot of hands. A 50% VPIP is a lot of hands.
Yeah, it's crazy to see someone play that many hands and do well. Like, it's that recipe is, it's very hard to be successful at. You have to be very, very, very good exploitively, and that's what he is. You know, he plays exploitively and knows it, and just plays it better. Knows when you're trying to combat it. Just his instincts are on. Obviously tonight they're completely off. But like we said, the night's young.
It'd be, I think it'd be really interesting to see his VPIP by position where he plays. You know, most players, I think all of their VPIP comes from the latter few positions, but I don't think George cares that much. He just, you know, he plays every position a lot. He plays a lot of hands. When you have a 50% VPIP, you're playing in every single position.
Yeah, we've seen him open like as wide as it gets from everywhere. Under the gun, queen 5 off. Like, he doesn't have a chart that he follows. It's the in the moment, game flow, who's in the blinds, what his image, you know, he you know, what I say his perceived image is, and that's really what he goes by. That's the information that he calculates on the spot. Whereas other players are looking to play optimally as far as balanced strategies. He's not looking to stay balanced at all. James on Facebook saying the 4-bet out of position with Jack 2. Yeah, that's